forever and ever.
And ever, out of the corner of your eye, you see the hair on the back of your hand standing on end. It feels as though low-grade lightning is coursing through you. You must be hypersensitive from the hangover.
Just coast. There's a little fishing village there and a fish market, but that got closed down ages ago.
Rows of stalls under a broad roof where silvery fish were heaped on newspapers. Water everywhere, pouring from the heavens in the shadow of the old church. All around you, rain falls on the great city of Revachol. Rain drips from the eaves and floods the gutters, washing the filth away. The spring thaw must be here. The snow is melting. Looking up at the sky, cold water dripping from your hair. Grey sky like great battleships, clouds colliding with one another. Rain falls down on the world. Your shirt sticks to your chest. The shoulders of your disco blazer grow heavy. The cold finds its way in under your skin. You shiver, and the city shivers with you. You're not dressed for this weather. You should get an overcoat or a patrol cloak. Sheets of rain over the water, a flight of stairs leading into the ocean. Wave after wave washing the coast of Martinaise, with its motorboats and gently swaying reeds. The ruins of a half-sunken sea fort crumble on an inlet beyond the Bay of Revachol. Ghosts rise into the sky. The skyscrapers of La Delta, the financial district. Faint golden light seeps from the office windows. Will you ever go there? No, you are just one of the hundreds of thousands who watch them rise across the bay from Martinaise every day. Urban coastline, rain dripping off Eternite-covered roofs, cinder blocks left over from half-finished construction, a defunct research and development building once seized by revolutionaries. An old wooden church stands on stilts above the water. Coal City, end of all lines. Your hair is an oily mess flecked with ash from neighboring coal plants. Smokestacks rise somewhere in the distance. There's a fleet on the corner. A plastic coat is folded into a small triangle under the counter by the window. Beyond that, the strikebreakers have gathered. The great gates of the industrial harbor are locked. A chill runs down your back. You shudder like an animal trying to shake water from its hide. You shudder looking down at your feet. Dirty rainwater runs veins into the plaza's snow. Two green snakeskin shoes stand at attention on the mosaic paving of the plaza. Capeside apartments. Tower blocks crowd one another. 4.46mm bullets still lodged in their war-torn stone walls. Hallways collapse from the mortar hits of a war that was lost long ago. Clotheslines go to waste in the rain. Radios play. The morning news. A yard. Rain falls onto the roof of a woodshed. Filthy water pools around a body. Droplets of rain slip from the dead man's cold cheeks. A traffic jam. Rain thrumming on the roofs of motor vehicles. Inside, drivers watch water streaming down their windshields. The statue of a king shudders. He too is cold. The canal bridge has been raised. The road ascends. A raised motorway loops above the ghetto. Beneath its concrete columns, a sea of rooftops, woodwork, and tar stretches northward. 4-story buildings as far as the rain can fall. The snows melt in Jamrock. Revachol is the capital of the world. Jamrock is the capital of Revachol. Droplets form on your eyelashes. It's home.
I've a brother in the cut. Where the wood at?
To be in Martinez, where no one goes, at the runoff point of a long-forgotten canal, in the whitest part of town, in the shadow of the day the revolution failed. Standing in the rain, looking north, where Jamrock Rock City stretches inland. In the rain-swept distance, above the rooftops of Jamrock, a repurposed silk mill stands perched above the motorway exit. Precinct 41 hunches in the rain. Satellite Officer Jean Vichmer rushes down the precinct stairs, umbrella in hand. It's unopened. He doesn't seem pleased about the spring rain. On the bridge, Officers Torsen and McLean are standing guard. Torsen wears jeans and a fishnet wife-beater. Satellite Officer Vichmer passes by, and the young man remarks to him,
"Where's your homo, homie?"
What?
It's not like that. They're what is called heterosexual life partners. They have a battle-tested relationship. A brother bond, if you will.
Huh? Yeah.
Sexual life partners.
Funny apery. Male-centric workplace humor. Have you seen him?
Is there something wrong?
No, nothing. It's just... Judith went to his place and found the Monday mail unopened. I think he's still there. You didn't drink with him over the weekend, did you?
That would be irresponsible.
With that animal? Never again, man. What is he, still down there? In, south of the interchange? What was it?
In Martinez. He's in Martinez.
your vision blurs. You wipe your face with your hand. The rain stings your eyes, making you look up and blink. Coalition aerostatics hang like apparitions under the cloud cover. Way up there, where rain forms, rotors flutter silently. Your sight clears. Collapsed storm drains, old sewage systems flooded with rainwater. Hidden weapon caches from the revolution, doors leading down to Le Royaume, the catacombs to which, for 3 centuries, they delivered the blue-blooded dead.
This rain will not let up anytime soon. You should get a raincoat. There's a freight to the east. They sell them there.
It's hard to say. His gaze wanders southwest, down the street that goes beyond the horizon. The road continues for miles, flowing together with other roads, turning into causeways or bridges, ending suddenly in dead ends, or ramping up or down highways. It forms a crisscross pattern across the land. Above the Jamrock Quarter, in the form of a raised motorway, and then the never-ending sprawl of Forburg, high above buildings, new and old, the air filled with the rumble of motor engines. To the old south, to the farthest outskirts of Revachol, through the checkered fields of farmland, upstream to the river Esperance, past Montmartin, the border approaches. You cannot see. It's out of the city. Up ahead, the mist blocks all sight. A gale blows across your cheeks. It is cold. Before you stands a tall lorry driver with sad eyes.
Excuse me?
wind howls over the Bay of Rivershaw, a cascade of cold air flowing through the city streets. Those same streets have left their share of scuff marks on the underside of your green snakeskin shoes. A monstrous shadow high above the fire traps of the domain, the 881 motorway running over this district of Jamrock. Concrete pillars rise up from the midst of the dilapidated wooden houses. On the horizon, barely visible, the hazy machinery of the harbor. Life in the domain is even worse off than in Martinez. The cold air is stiff from the fumes of the motor carriages and lorries roaring overhead. Below, broken down, battered people mill on the dusty streets with no purpose. Yet amongst them, there is no sight of this man. Nowhere.
Yeah? What makes you say that?
They know me. That's bullshit.
A breeze ripples through the cells and tugs at your hair. Below, the sleek, fish-like shape of the hull parts the water. Beneath that, a resounding darkness. You're reminded of something, or someone. A cold breath rushes in from the bay, making its way down the alleyways and potholed streets. From Martinez to Jamrock, in the traffic you hear the clinking of glass vials, concealed beneath tarpaulin. Or is it just your teeth chattering in the cold? There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it. A column of cold air encircles you, rising slowly upward in the shape of a courtyard, bordered by cracked plaster, windows, seagulls perched on air conditioning units. A small green enclosure in the middle of a corral of tenements, Capeside apartments, whirling in rags and the fortress wall of Terminal B. Above it, a thin blanket of coastal stratus clouds. Higher yet, coalition airships guard over the 21 cordons of the zone of control. The air is crisscrossed with radio transmissions. The hair on your neck rises.
You are.
Windows are being opened. On Rue Saint-Cypar, people are turning their heads. An elderly woman puts down her grocery bags in front of the Fritz store and listens. Somewhere behind her, the gates of the industrial harbor are raised. On the catwalk, above the shipping containers, a broad-shouldered man jerks his head up. That Kuno? Cops getting killed out there. The tattooed mesk next to him smiles. That's Kuno, all right. There's something cold in the air, like water lapping against cold stones, or dripping in a hallway nearby. 3 years ago, there were shoes in the corner. Somewhere, just out of earshot, a glass bottle explodes. A man's voice shouts, "You fucking kids!" And then the screech of sneakers pounding the pavement. A girl's voice yelling, "Got him!" And a painfully shrill laugh piercing the air. 6 meters underground, below piping from before the war, the collapsed remains of the Martinez storm drain system. There are 2 stolen flashlights with piles of batteries next to them, beside 2 bedrolls, in the dark and opening into the lower tunnels. From out on the bay, a cool wind gathers. It sweeps into the city, tugging at the textiles hanging around the stand. Some distance away, the sound of a tin can clattering across the street can be heard. Practical, and yet it may deaden your senses to the world around you, possibly because of the awful typeface. Toll booths at the intakes are marked with a circle. It looks like there are scant few ways of getting onto the elevated motorway that runs over Jamrock, and this person knows them all. There, hundreds of thousands of motor carriages roar on the 881, high above the mess of brown and red roofs that is Jamrock. The commuters don't even look down. The world ceases to exist outside the windshield. To Kuron, through the middle-income neighborhoods there, by the river, and then to Stella Maris and La Delta for work, while the men and women of Jamrock scuttle to their fates below the road. Wind rips through the empty hallways of the once great military hospital, now just a ruin under an overgrown park. Beneath the hospital, great sewer tunnels hum and vibrate with life of their own. The rattle of motor carriages and lorries driving through long-forgotten tunnels, lit by gaslights. Despite the cold, figures move about cloaked in shadow, their breath escaping in white clouds that fade into the darkness. Wherever you look, the night gives cover to her messengers. They travel from eminent domain to perdition and onto the main, over the River Esperance, on Route 881 to the Old South. The exit ramp is supposed to be shut down, but there's much activity. The road spreads like the tentacles of a great octopus.
Oh, don't worry about me. I'm one of the best camioners around. I drive routes no one else will. Lomonosov's Land, Udajnaya Zemlya, the Western Plain.
A terrible cold comes over her, rattling her teeth as she stares inward. Outside, the melting snow seeps into the cracks in the walls and the cobblestone streets, all the way down into the sewers. Above ground, the first May bells blossom. You can feel it, a great cold. Then the shiver passes. A cold breeze hisses through dense thickets of reeds. Something sweet in it, somnolent. A damp chill goes down your spine. When you look around, you're still in the whirling in rags. On Moreau Drive in central Jamrock, in a darkened hall lit by orange desk lamps far away from the noise outside, a middle-aged man taps commands into an old radio computer. A printout falls on the desk. Behind him, a lonely reader scours some dusty bookshelves, looking for a paperback. Outside, a cold wind wraps the building in its bosom. Snowflakes in the wind. An old woman passes what the locals call the doomed commercial area. She tries hard not to look at the bookstore windows. It's unwise. Somewhere in the past, it's summer. 5-year-old Fifette lets go of her mother's hand, change jingling in her pockets as she hops towards the ice cream stand right across the plaza. As she makes her way to the market stall, the girl starts crying. A ferocious ice bear is guarding the fridge, its paws raised to ward off any potential customers. Her mother rushes to soothe her, but Fifette doesn't want ice cream anymore. She just wants to go home. The ice bear stares at them as they leave the plaza. A gust of wind flies one of the wrappers right past the sobbing girl.
I know. What an unfortunate marketing choice.
A gust of cold air sweeps through the chimney. The stones and minerals on the shelves rattle as though agitated. For a moment, it almost feels as though you're outside the building, exposed to the atmosphere.
Didn't we already talk about this? What are you talking about? My address is exactly the same. Rue de Saint-Guérin 10.
No, the old coal plant that used to be here was subsumed into the new venture. Its ruins swallowed up, yet it has a different address in the heart of the city.
This doesn't make any sense. Are you saying my business was spared because of a technicality? Where is this coming from?
Rats scuttle in the dark rooms under the abandoned blow dryers and dusty mannequins. Cobwebs cover rotors and radio computers alike. So much failure.
Anyway, now you know the story of the fallen ice cream empire.
The temperature has dropped in the cover of the night. You see frost on the windows. The shop around you feels ancient suddenly, damp and saturated by the coastal air. The books are rotting. A great cold lives here, and there too, 1,200 meters away on the urban coast. The dark shape of a church is reflected on the water, calling. Underwater, iron helmets have sunk deep into the sand and the mud. Helmets of soldiers, and their finger bones too, and clavicles, littering the ocean floor. The chill is bracing. The salt hangs in the air. The wind from the ocean pushes at you, smoothing your moustache. Outside, the melting snow seeps into the cracks in the walls and the cobblestone streets, all the way down into the sewers. Above ground, the first May bells blossom. You can feel it, a great cold. Then the shiver passes. A man on high heels stumbles out of a basement club, music blasting over the entire district. It's chilly, and as the chemicals hit his nervous system, 1,000 shivers ripple through his body.
Let's go.
Frisson covers your entire body, a feeling of cold, a persistent chill. Just like that, the wind picks it from your fingers. Cold, they let go. The wax paper rustles, a whisper light and low. Then a sudden gust raises the postcard to the drizzle-grey sky above, away from you. A small piece of paper dances above Martinez, above slow waves crashing the shore, and the war-torn houses, and the new bâtiments nouveaux alike. Above you, looking up to the grey sky, with your hair greasy and wet. And above the distant streets and the 881, even above the old fish market and the church, its material existence is lost. This great city will pocket it for you. For your own sake, forget about it. It's as if the entire world is frozen solid in awe of this great clash of brows. Nothing exists outside this moment. An almost imperceptible snap inside the lieutenant. His shoulders relax, his eyebrow casually descending as he tries his best to look relaxed, nonchalant even. Winter, slow to let go of Revachol, flecks some more wet snow from above. The snow falls lazily, making the beach sand paler still, mixing with the rust-colored sewage runoff. And to think, it seemed as though it were already spring. The melting snow seeps through your thin clothes. Grandmothers don't let their grandchildren out dressed so lightly in this weather. You look around. More winding coastlines lined with abandoned buildings, crumbling piers, salt water lapping at their dark piles, grey and red forgotten city blocks, what remains of the pre-revolutionary effort to gentrify the coast. The waters turn black, coal city in the shadow of Saint Martin, a boom town. Back when coal extracted from countless shafts near the city was needed to power Revachol. No more. The coal was supplanted by petroleum from the ocean floor and hydropower from the Esperance. Everything crumbled. These days, only the weakest remain in Coal City. Their hopes of getting rich linger in the defunct shafts under their feet. Below the old mines, L'Océan Municipal, Revachel's underground cemetery, Le Petit Rat braved the underground passageways, trying to get to Le Royaume. Children under 14, they go underground looking for artifacts to sell to foreign museums, and for fabled relics. Their parents let them. They go deeper. After rubies, melchiorite, lapis lazuli, plundered from Safle and Seol during the time of the suzerain, in the burial chambers of the kings, Grand Old Philip, Guillaume II, and even in the mausoleum of Philip the Opulent. 2 kilometers underground, in a winding shaft along whose walls mirrors have been placed, so that daylight may eternally fall upon the richest of all the kings. The mausoleum contains untold quantities of gold, and that special, purest of the pure magenta cocaine, favored by Revacholian royalty. Did someone say untold quantities of cocaine? Drop everything immediately and go looking for this hoard. How can it be pure if it's magenta? Snow falls, and there is no answer. Some things are not for mortals to know. Few Petit Rats return from the shafts. Even fewer find what they're looking for. A small child steps out of the black tunnel with silver trinkets in her pockets. All around her, white snow on the extinguished coke furnaces and on the weather-worn shacks where fathers beat their sons after drinking. The snow melts on your fingers, turning to water. The canal you crossed to get here and beyond it. Martinez proper, the district the police forgot to police. There is laughter, lights, attempts at entrepreneurial activity, cynicism. Someone is scraping snow off their windshield at the roundabout, in the midst of which a statue of Philip III serves as a destination for grade school field trips and a fine perch for winter birds. Like all monuments, it's also a warning. 6-story ruins on the south side of the roundabout cast a long shadow over the profligate king. A fenced-off yard. There's a truck belonging to a logistics company parked next to the gate. Bright light from a building behind the fence reflects off its hood. Clean white light coming from the windows of a clean cube-shaped office building hidden amidst ruins. A secret. The abandoned church, one of 2 remaining stave churches, which were collectively called Les Sept Sœurs. The other 6 sisters were destroyed during the Revolution. A serpentine strip of land weaving its way into the Martinez Inlet. Unfortunates on the run from the law, from themselves, sometimes hide out on nearby islets. Little dots in the ocean that are occasionally submerged when the tide is high and the weather foul. The remains of a camp on a jagged piece of rock, a tent, old dishes and cutlery, long since abandoned. A hermit crab scuttles among the debris, looking for a new shell. Further out, the lights burn bright on Resurrection, way beyond Martinez, a popular spa destination for ample-bodied Ozon kids with equally ample pockets. Then there's Ozon, but the snow falls too thick. You cannot see that far. The Bay of Revachol, vastness, great depth, over 1,200 meters at its deepest. Water, air-brinier than here. It is crisscrossed by huge cargo ships bearing company logos. Wild pines, Zam, Maurien. And at the farthest reaches of the Bay of Revachol, the shadow of the coalition warship Archer, on perpetual patrol duty, ready to unleash artillery fire if you were to rise up against the market. You shudder. The raised motorway, 881, separating Martinez from Jamrock, Vehicles whoosh past one another day and night, while those who reside in labyrinthine alleyways beneath the motorway attempt to carry on with their lives in the snow and the slush. And south of the 881 is the Pox. Was once a park, a place for reflection and recuperation for the patients of the old military hospital. In the 20s, it was used as a quarantine center during a measles outbreak that killed many children. Most everyone has avoided the hospital and surrounding park ever since. The Pox is completely wild now. Evergreen thickets covered in snow and industrial dust. Feral dogs and even wolves roaming in packs. The police try to keep the deepest corners cordoned off. Heavy drug users do slip through and hole up in the old military hospital, hoping to find something to get high on among the hastily abandoned supplies, or just to overdose in peace. A line of motor garages with armored carapaces hunched in the cold. A mechanic is hard at work, patching up bullet holes in the side of a Capri 40. These are the garages of Precinct 41. Snow settles on the roof of the repurposed silk mill. It serves as your station. Shivering RCM personnel hurry in and out of the main entrance.
Wonder if Vic's found his heterosexual life partner yet.
Damn, I don't know. Even a real Bruderbund like that can't survive everything.
Around you, the snow continues to fall. To the west, the ocean swells. The stairs descend to central Jamrock. A man named Cooklove has a snow-covered stall there in the market across the bridge. He sells kebab infested with fly larvae to your colleagues who believe eating it will make them immune to food poisoning. Snow falls on the utility district, the library, the florist, the Sarah Mauritian restaurant that offers homemade wine, and also on the brothels and drug dens, and the chop shops of the Zemlyaki. All of this built around a lake that formed in a meteorite strike. At the center of this lake, there is a little ship. There are lights at the bottom of its hull. They are lights directed toward the seafloor, looking for something, like whiskers. A chill comes over you, crawling down your back. The sand under your feet is wet. Somewhere in the south, tarpaulin flap in the wind. More Coalition aerostatics. Occasionally, lights flash as they maneuver through the falling snow. One large airship carries crates in its belly. Layer upon layer of sand, poisoned with industrial runoff. The storm drainage, hidden bunkers. Rats scuttle. Someone stuffed a big old polar anorak into a concrete pipe under the boardwalk. It would keep you warm. You would probably never happen across it, but who knows?
We should keep moving. Who knows when the snow will let up?
A shift in temperature. The air chills around you. Dust settles on the stony floor. A former architect stands before a slice of window, a room plan in her hand. A cold wave has made the air in the building stand still and frozen, with temperatures falling down to minus 20 degrees Celsius. Is red from the cold. She's breathing on her fingers, clasping the plan. Traces of sadness are visible in her expression. Is red from the cold. She's breathing on her fingers, clasping the plan. Traces of sadness are visible in her expression. Faint pencil lines on paper depict the same place, but a missing eastern wall connects the room with the neighboring apartment. Ideas for arranging the furniture have been jotted down. It's clean and empty, with new tapestry embellishing the walls. A standard HB graphite pencil has fallen off a three-legged stool in the middle of the room. She had an eye for beauty.
West of the boardwalk, in the reeds, on the coast there. I put it there when I first arrived. Haven't been there since. I'm not sure I could even find it now. It's useless.
The wind rises, so do the hairs on your back. Somewhere west, small bubbles rise from a plastic ball floating in the water. Rusty, the color of oversteeped tea. Long, spindly arms are spinning the boy around, turning it, inspecting it like a magic 8-ball, trying to find a way to snap it open.
Nothing is useless.
Maybe Ravishol could be free. I could be tried in a free Ravishol. An independent state that doesn't hand its detainees over to the moral intern.
A free Revachol. There is a low, distant rumble on the motor tracks. A great machine shaking the pillars down south. Electricity runs up your spine.
I find that hard to believe, miss.
It's coming.
A warm column of air rises around you, encircling the building you stand on. You feel its twisting shape, bits of paper and birds on the thermal, along with several million liters of water, all rising up into the great Insulindian sky. Because it's warm, from the gathering spring, from the oceanic current flowing into the bay, the people on the streets, and the machines that hum in the harbor. Heavy fuel oils, too. From the vapor, a great cumulus is formed, a cloud castle 1,000 meters high. A flock of seagulls screams, hitchhiking on the thermal. They too are part of the procession, the honor watch. For her, the guest, waiting, as safe as you keep her. For Gloria, soon these clouds will all fall down as rain. Spring will come. 2 more months. Maybe less. It's time.
You mean here, in Martinez? I'm waiting for the miracle to happen. It'll take one to get me out of the mess I'm in.
And what would that miracle be?
The return, of course. Now, I know I'm not from around here. I would only be hitchhiking. The return is a big hit in the industrial espionage circles. A lot of desperate, seedy types there. All screwed in this unipolar world. Don't you know, sir? I thought you were from around here. You look like Mr. Revachol. The return, well, it's part urban myth, part political science. It's a fool's hope, sir, and it's also all I've got. They say there will be an event, that it will happen somewhere here. In Revachol West. They say it will happen soon, and that it will change everything.
Le retour.
As I said, there's talk. In the competitive intelligence crowd, a lot of people, like me, we need a new color on the map. It's all blue, you see, and that blue doesn't like us. I do.
I agree, detective. Something is coming. Trouble. It will be a hot spring. I don't know what exactly, but...
Something is happening in this city. I can feel it when I'm out here at night.
Her thought trails off. The wind picks up again. Above her, a great cumulus cloud rises, ready to fall down as precipitation. April will come, then May. A month, maybe 2 from now. You shudder. The feeling dissipates. The thought ends. Like a leopard waking from its sleep, yawning and roaring at the same time. That sound, you feel the wind in your hair as if you're already driving. But where? Down a narrow street, lined with shabby wooden houses, the 881 motor tract, coiling like a serpent high above. Children play under the viaduct, eyes turn to watch you as you pass. The Valley of Dogs, and before it, a familiar dome, like a ladybug without the colors. The building has a designated parking place for your carriage. You catch a faint glimmer from a broken beer bottle in the distance. Sounds. 2 men engaged in a drunken argument, followed by the closing of some distant window. In the middle of a broken plaza, illuminated in a cone of light, 2 men, one slim, the other sturdy. They are on the city stage, but only one of them knows his lines.
Ah, Martinez at night.
There's a trap in the reeds at your... Locusts are crawling around in the trap, confused but uneaten. You see no carnivorous reed phasmid gorging on them.
Big surprise. Anyway, 1 down, 3 to go. No, you weren't.
Behind you, the ruins of a residential building loom over the reeds. They whisper amongst themselves, confidentially. Snowflakes cling to their shivering stems. When this district was booming, the reeds were kept at bay. Nothing obscured the freshly painted facades. Nowhere for drunks and adventurous teenagers to hide. Now only the wind blows. The reeds shake sadly in the coastal breeze. Snow specks the stalks. Most of it melts quickly. The reeds seem to be waiting for something. The wind picks up here, near the cape's end, surrounding the narrow strip of land from 3 cardinal directions. It's cold for this time of year. This trap is also full of panicked locusts. No sign of any cryptozoological beast inside. The reeds bend forlornly toward the sand. Some tufts have been crushed. Snow covers the broken stalks like a shroud. In the east, the city center hums to you. The constant, distant song, louder on this part of the coast, nearer somehow. And there's that cold again. Always the cold. The reeds by the abandoned campsite sway and tremble, while the snow falls all around. It's good the cryptozoologists left. This isn't a very cozy place to stay night after night. The later it gets, the colder. Remnants of the camp can still be seen in the sand. The fire that's gone out. You feel strange, somehow. A cold gust of air dries your sweaty face, and you look to the dark shadow, the felled building in the distance, drawing you to it. What a strange sensation. Once this is done, should you try to ask again? Ooh, hidden things, secrets, lies. Cold, air, tendons, snapped the cords keeping the boy in place. A little longer and it would be floating somewhere out in the open sea. Moves across the water, leaving no traces. You're cold again, as always. Splendor.
Mm-hmm.